What's going on, everybody? For our project, we are doing option number 2, and we chose for our phenomenon diabetes and the pre-dawn effect. And since they're both interconnected, we'll be talking about how they're similar. And yeah, so I'm Aidan, there's Lucas, and we have Cydney and Katelyn, and we're in period 0. There's anatomy honors, right? And then yeah, so some information about diabetes and the pre-dawn effect. We have diabetes obviously is referring, the pre-dawn effect refers to the rise in blood sugar released by your liver, and the dawn phenomenon or dawn effect is a term used to describe like an abnormal early morning increase in blood sugar or glucose, usually between 2 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock in the morning in people with diabetes. And yeah, this is just a group of diseases that just has a little bit of too much sugar in your blood, and which obviously results in high blood glucose. So yeah, with diabetes, we have type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and type 1 is a condition in which the pancreas produces little or no insulin. Type 2 is a chronic condition that affects the way that the body processes blood and sugar. So yeah, some effects from these two would be that diabetes can lead a person to have a stroke, a heart attack, kidney failure, blindness, chronic pain, and other amputations. And diabetes is a long-lasting health condition that affects your body, like when it's trying to turn food into energy, but obviously you can change it by later on. We have personal connection with Cydney and how she talks about how she got over her personal connection with this project, but with diabetes. But anyways, most of the food we eat obviously breaks down into sugar and released into our bloodstream, and when the blood sugar goes up, it signals your pancreas to release insulin, and the insulin acts like a key to let the blood sugar into your body to use for energy. And then if you have diabetes, your body either doesn't make enough insulin or can't use the insulin it makes as well as it should. But when there isn't enough, then that's when you have too much blood sugar and it stays in your bloodstream. And there isn't a cure for diabetes quite yet, but losing weight, eating healthy food, and being active can really help a person get over this. And taking medicine as needed, prescribed by doctors, and getting diabetes self-management, education, and support, and keeping healthcare appointments also reduce the impact of diabetes on your life.
So I'm Katelyn, and I'll be talking about how diabetes affects the body. In addition to diabetes symptoms, diabetes can also have these long-term damage to the body, which is commonly referred to as diabetic complications. Diabetes affects our blood vessels and nerves, so therefore it can affect any part of the body. So oftentimes diabetes and cardiovascular problems are closely related. Diabetes contributes to high blood pressure and is linked with high cholesterol, which significantly increases the risk of heart attacks and cardiovascular disease. So excess blood sugar can decrease the elasticity of blood vessels and can cause them to narrow, which prohibits the blood flow. This can lead to like a reduced supply of blood and oxygen, and increasing the risk of high blood pressure and damage to large and small blood vessels. A relatively common complication of diabetes is something called diabetic retinopathy, which refers to blood vessels in like the back of the eye, the retina, which swells and leaks as a result of diabetes. High blood pressure is also a contributing factor for this retinopathy. The kidneys are another organ that is at particular risk of damage. It is a result of diabetes, and the risk is again increased by like poorly controlled diabetes, high blood pressure, and also high cholesterol. Diabetic nephropathy is what it's called, from kidney disease as a result of diabetes. Diabetes also has an effect on the skin, which is usually a result of its effect on the nerves and circulation. which can lead to dry skin, slow healing of cuts, burns and wounds, fungal bacteria, and infections. And also sometimes a loss of the feeling of the foot. People with diabetes are recommended to have their feet checked at least once a year because there's this thing called diabetic foot, which is when the nerve damages from diabetes can cause you to lose feeling in your feet and you won't feel like a cut or a blister or sore at all. And then foot injuries such as these can cause like ulcers and infections, and sometimes serious cases even lead to like amputations. Damage to the blood vessels can also mean that like your feet do not get enough blood and oxygen. The effects of diabetes on the nerves can be really serious, as the nerves are involved in many of our bodily functions, such as simple movement and digestion, to like sex and reproduction.
So the dawn phenomenon is also known as the pre-dawn effect. This is problematic since your body cannot naturally correct for insulin changes during the night, and this often creates consistently high blood glucose levels in the morning. Estimates show that the dawn phenomenon occurs in about 50% of people who have type 2 diabetes, and a rise in glucose levels in the morning is normal for everyone, but those without diabetes can't secrete enough insulin to counteract this, while those that are diabetic cannot. The hormones that promote glucose release into the blood include adrenaline, which is known as the fight or flight hormone, and this increases blood flow to the muscles and promotes the release of glucose into the blood. There's also cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone, and this plays a role in increasing blood glucose. Glucagon signals the liver to release glucose into the blood, and growth hormone is also important for repair and regeneration, and thus promotes the release of glucose into the blood. In addition, there's also two functions that occur in the liver overnight that attribute to the release of glucose and in turn heighten blood sugar levels in the morning. These are glycogenolysis, which is the breakdown and release of stored glucose, and glucogenesis, which is the creation of glucose from components of protein such as certain amino acids or fat. High morning blood sugar can be down to a variety of things, including insufficient insulin, incorrect medical dosage, or carbohydrate snacks before bed, and others. And testing blood sugar levels during the night may help determine when blood sugar levels are rising and if the pre-dawn effect is present. And certain steps can be taken to treat the pre-dawn effect, such as adjusting your insulin dosage when you take insulin medication. You can adjust your medical dosage. You can switch to a different medication since there are many different types of diabetic medicine. You can switch to an insulin with a different profile of activity, or you could just not eat carbohydrate snacks before bed, or you can also use an insulin pump to administer extra insulin.
I'm going to be talking about my personal connection to diabetes. Around in middle school, 6th grade, I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. I went to a regular doctor's checkup, and I had to take my blood, or they had to take my blood, and saw that my blood sugar level was unusually high, and the doctors were pretty concerned. It wasn't as bad as being diabetic, but it was still scary because I couldn't really understand what pre-diabetes were at the time. First, the doctors had to talk to me about what it was and how I should fix it, and I had to change my diet a lot and take out a lot of sugar and watch the proportions of food I eat every day. Because I was pre-diabetic, it wasn't as serious, so I actually went to another doctor, and she actually checked my blood again, and this time it was like a Western doctor, so she wasn't like a traditional doctor, and she said that I just couldn't digest sugar as well or the right way, and it caused the numbers to increase every time I took the blood test. So it also affected my gut, and my gut was also inflamed, which took part in some of the sugar level being high. So to fix my sugar level, I took a lot of supplements for 1.5 to 2 years. I took it every night after I ate, and I took one more supplement in the morning before I ate my breakfast. And around 2 years after that, I went to the doctor, they checked my blood sugar again, and it was back to normal. And so now I still watch how I eat. I try not to eat a lot of sugar, but I'm back to normal and I'm not pre-diabetic anymore.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed our podcast.